Hi everyone, my name is William Malone and I am the author of Cops in Kabul, a Newfoundland Peacekeeper in Afghanistan, published by Flanker Press. This is the fourth and final reading in a series of readings that I've been doing on behalf of Flanker Press. And to conclude the series, I decided to read from the final chapter, chapter 14, which is entitled, Was It Worth It? And as with all my chapters, it begins with a quote. And in this case, it's from Johann Wolfgang von Goethe. And it says, "Nothing is worth more than this day." There are some people who will always believe that our time in Afghanistan was a huge mistake that resulted in the unnecessary and tragic loss of lives and the squandering of precious resources. They believe that we simply followed our American friends blindly into battle without questioning their reasons or their motives. This is something that will be debated for many, many years to come. However, I firmly believe that the 11 years we spent there were not in vain. Yes, we lost many Canadian sons and daughters, and there have been many more who have been injured and scarred both physically and mentally. But I believe that our intentions in going there were true, noble, and right. In my view, we had a moral responsibility to help those who most needed it, the Afghan people. By training their police, their military, and their government institutions, we helped lay a foundation that we all hope will lead to a more peaceful, safe, and secure society in the future. As you read these words, you may think that I'm being naive, but the truth is I and my civilian police colleagues who served in Afghanistan from 2003 to 2014 believe that we left the place better than we found it. Many are quick to judge, criticize, and armchair quarterback whether or not it was the right thing to do. To those people who were not there, you have that luxury. You have the ability to second guess, and that's okay. Whether or not you agree doesn't change the fact that the men and women of the Canadian law enforcement community, as well as the Canadian military and diplomatic corps, went there with the best of intentions in the hope of bringing about peace and security to a very troubled land. The best possible way I can describe the importance of our presence there is by describing a conversation I had with one of the locally engaged Afghan employees who worked as a driver at the Canadian Embassy. You can then decide for yourself whether or not our presence had an impact or made a difference. One day I was traveling with Hamid from the embassy to the European Police headquarters on the other side of Kabul. I had gotten to know Hamid over the previous few months and had formed a friendship with him. As we were driving, we passed a number of military convoys and police checkpoints, and I asked him, "Hamid, what do you think of all this? What do you think of us being here?" He sat quietly for a moment and replied, "I know that you have come here at great risk to help us, and for that we are truly grateful. All that I am looking for in life is to be able to work, provide for my family, send my children to school, and live in peace." It took a minute for his words to sink in, and then I looked at him and said, "Hamid, what you have just described is no different than what any other dad in the world would want for his family." His words to me reinforced the value and importance of us being there. It has been several years since my colleagues and I entered our tour in 2012. During these last few years, I have watched the news with the rest of the world to hear the latest on what's happening in that country. Unfortunately, the Taliban and other insurgent forces such as ISIS have capitalized on the absence of NATO forces and personnel and are expanding their violent footprint and repressive rule unabated once again throughout the country. More often than not, we hear of insurgent attacks and suicide bombings that have killed scores of innocent people. With the departure of NATO troops, the fears of the Afghan people have unfortunately come to pass. In speaking with a number of Afghans during my tour, they frequently expressed concerns about the deterioration in the security situation when the multinational military force left at the end of 2014. We all knew that was a possibility, and sadly, their fears have materialized. It must always be remembered that there are many wonderful, kind, and good people in Afghanistan. People like Hamid, who are all searching for peace and a better life so that they can raise their families, educate their children, and live long, healthy, and prosperous lives. I believe our presence there allowed them, albeit for a brief moment in time, to see that a better and hopeful future is possible. That is it for this series of readings. I hope you've enjoyed it. Again, if you're interested in learning more, the book is called Cops in Kabul, a Newfoundland Peacekeeper in Afghanistan, published by Flanker Press. It's available through Chapters Indigo, Flanker Press. It's also available through Barnes & Noble and in ebook form through Amazon. So thank you for watching, everyone.